Welcome back to 95 Connected, a Maryland. Oh, I screwed it up. A Baltimore and Maryland sports podcast. We're off to a rousing start already. This is Pat. Josh doesn't know that I'm recording this, which is funny. So I brought along some old friends of mine, Matt and Chris. If anybody is an avid listener of this, I previously had Nathan on. I met Matt and Chris through the same method as Nathan online on Facebook, talking about the Orioles, and figured it was a good time for them to join because opening day is this week, and nothing else is happening because Maryland is terrible at basketball, and nothing's happening for the Ravens. So I decided to bring them on. So I'll start with Matt. Can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. Chris, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. So just some quick intros. I will start with Matt. Matt lives in Virginia. And then he is also a longtime Orioles fan, but a closeted Nationals fan. He won't admit it, but his favorite player of all time is Anthony Rendon. And then we've got Chris, who is from Canada, the second best hockey team in all facets, men, women, and Paralympics. Did we beat Canada in the Paralympics too, or was that a different country?
They'll let you guys win sometimes.
Yeah.
You guys have had a lot of losses lately, but
yeah.
We won't get political on here.
That's right. Well, if Matt's a closeted Nats fan, then Chris is a closeted Blue Jays fan. I believe he's married into the Blue Jays fandom, so we'll count that. And we will go no further into that because we don't need to talk to what fandom I'm married into.
Steelers.
Oh, God. Anyway, opening day is Thursday. Matt, are you going?
I am not, but I did take work off, so I will be at home watching the game.
Oh, there you go. When's your first game? When are you going to go? Do you know yet?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten tickets for a game yet, but I was looking at. There was some giveaway I wanted to go to, but I can't remember what it was now. But I haven't bought tickets yet. But I'm definitely going to go.
That would have been a good episode to critique the giveaways. But
that would have been a good one.
I think we're past that. We're past that now. So Thursday.
I was planning to go, but it's a school night, so.
Oh, yeah. That, what is it, a 10-hour drive?
And it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
Is it?
Nobody wants to go to a game in March.
I'm just saying that's one of the excuses they always give.
Excuses,
so.
Yeah. School night, crime.
Crime and weather.
Yeah, anyway. But yeah, Thursday. You know what? I call this a Baltimore sports podcast. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who the O's are playing. Who are they playing? The Twins? Oh, okay. All right.
Which I just found out on Sunday.
There you go. See, it's not just me. Yeah. Playing Thursday afternoon, and then they have that weird off day on Friday just in case it rains. And then Saturday, it's just going. It's time to go. So we're just going to talk about the Orioles today. Nothing else. Like I said before, one of the first things that we want to talk about, or the first thing we want to talk about, is actually I wouldn't call it breaking news, but it was something that popped up on the internet today was the leaked new City Connects. For those who don't know what the City Connect jerseys are, those are when all the teams put on these special colors and they say, we're tied to Baltimore in this way, and we're tied to Seattle in this way, and look how pretty these jerseys are. And the Orioles' first iteration of them was black and white with some fancy colors on the sleeves and I guess inside. The bee hat. Did you guys like the bee hat? The old.
I was not a fan of that one.
No? What about you, Chris? No? Oh.
I mean, I didn't mind the hat in general, but as an Orioles hat, it felt kind of weird.
Yeah. Good thing Josh is in here. He loves that hat. But I'm with you guys. I'm indifferent. I know they just released an orange one. They thought the B is orange with a orange brim. I don't know if they're going to wear that instead of the O. But
they wore it on. They had exhibition games Sunday and Monday, and they wore it on both of
Oh,
those.
okay. All right. So maybe it is going to replace that O. But I digress. So the new City Connects leaked, and this is an audio podcast. So you now, as listeners, have to go find it. But it is essentially it looks like a vest jersey. The sleeves are dark green, like the seats. I think that's what they were going for. Left arm, there was a patch that looked like the Utah Street plaques. And then it said be more on the front, which I hold an opinion of. I don't like the word be more. I have nothing further to say on that. I just don't like it. And then it's got the ornithologically correct bird. Is that the right word,
Yeah,
fellow
yeah,
English major Christopher? Oh, Matt knows.
yeah.
Seems like
I
it.
can't pronounce it, but that is
Yeah,
correct.
Not
ornithologically
giving us
correct bird.
I'm glad you
advice
tried to
on that
pronounce it
is
because
good.
I was going to butcher it.
Yeah. And then and that's pretty much. Oh, and on the inside, it's it looks like a brick, and I don't know if the brick is supposed to be the warehouse brick. I would assume so,
I think
or it
so.
could be the row homes brick.
And I noticed when I looked at it later today, it was it's on the trim of the sleeves too, the brick.
Oh, I did not notice that. Huh. And then so that's pretty much the jersey. Who knows what the pants? I assume the pants are just going to be that cream white color, or maybe they'll go with the green. I don't know. But then a hat leaked where it was a cream colored hat with a green bill and this weird looking bee. And I don't know what it's supposed to be. Bee. I don't know what the bee's supposed to be. What could it possibly be? Any other way to say bee? You guys got anything further on that?
I don't particularly like the hat, I can tell you that. From
Yeah, it
that
almost
image,
seems like a hat that you want to get just to be different. But
right.
yeah.
It
So,
doesn't seem to fit with anything else Oriole wise.
yeah. It on the patch it says something about the stoops, which I don't know. Do you guys know what the stoops are referring to? Either of
Guessing
you?
like bird stoops?
No. Chris, do you
No.
know?
No, I don't.
No. So if you look back at, well, if you go to Baltimore and you walk just down a regular street, they look like marble steps that go up into the houses. And I guess the thing back in the old days was for people to go out and sit on their stoops and just be merry. So people were out on their stoops, and that's what it's referring to.
Oh, okay.
And there you go. Yeah, from the stoop to the whatever the
Too young to get that reference.
yes. I think you're too Canadian to get that reference, but you know that's okay. I'm sure you'll say a reference that I don't understand soon. So I mean that's it. If anybody wants to look at it, it's out there. I don't think I'll purchase any of it. Maybe I'll warm up to the hat, or maybe I'll get it to be different. I don't know. I don't think so. We'll see. But yeah, so the City Connects are out.
I mean,
But
I
it's
like
not
the
something I'm gonna.
jerseys. I don't think it would have taken much to improve on the All Blacks, but
I was gonna say
that's
the
true.
black ones did nothing for me. At least these like are different, and I could see potentially getting a shirt or jersey, but
Yeah,
I think I got a City Connect hoodie that I was given for free, and the only reason I got it is because it was free.
there you go. Well, you could have sold it on eBay.
That's true.
Yeah,
Well, the game I was there last year, they were like everything was like all the City Connect stuff was like 50% off. So I was like, oh, there's definitely another one coming.
yeah. And it seems like a lot of teams, if not all of them, are getting new ones.
Yeah.
I think I saw the Padres.
Saw a Pirates one leak today too.
Yeah, that one just says Pirates on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the breaking news. But I think the meat and potatoes of what we want to talk about today is just the team, because it starts on Thursday. So just wanted to go through a couple things and get these guys expert opinions. Oh, I forgot to mention. When Nathan was on, we talked about the blog that we had off the warehouse. Both of these two fine people wrote some articles on that, and that was a lot of fun. I don't remember why that stopped. I don't remember if it was kids or life or work or the Orioles started to play bad and we stopped caring. I feel like
I
that
think it
was the number
was.
one.
I think that was.
Laziness.
I think
Yeah,
it was
laziness.
laziness, that, and like we just couldn't come up with
Yeah,
consistent ideas, and then we couldn't find time to do it, and then the team got bad, and it was just a combination of things.
yeah. That was a lot of fun, but
It was.
life goes on. Now we're here. This is like a reunion, off the warehouse reunion. Sans Nathan. All right, so kind of wanted to just go through the main facets of the team, starting with pitching, go down through the lineups, and with in your heart of hearts, what does this team look like to you, whether it's on their own in comparison to the other teams in the AL East. We all know the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, so that doesn't matter. But that's kind of what we want to look at today. But the first thing I wanted to run down was, before we get into the pitching, is I pulled up the depth chart. I know the roster hasn't been officially announced yet, right? But looking at the depth chart that's on ESPN right now, there's a lot of red letters, and the red letters mean injuries. So I'm just going to run down the injuries right now, the obvious ones. Bautista's still on the 60-day DL. IL. I don't know if he's ever coming back. So there's one. You've got Andrew Kittredge out, Holiday out, Westberg out, Dylan Beavers day-to-day, Keegan Aiken day-to-day. So really there's, and Kjerstad day-to-day. So really there's like probably, 4 impact people injured at the moment, if you want to consider Kittredge impact. So is that a better start than last year? Were more people hurt in spring training last year?
There was more starting pitchers, it felt like, hurt last year.
Yeah, that's one thing. That is a completely clean row. There are
That's
no
a minor
red letters
miracle.
up there. Yeah. Yeah.
Did Gunnar miss the start of the season last
He
year?
did.
I'm imagining that.
Oh,
No,
that's a
he
big
did.
one. Yep.
And then
That's a big
Kauser
one.
got hurt like right away.
And then Westberg is hurt all the time. So, I'm going to edit this out because my screen went dead.
I thought maybe you got some breaking news.
All right, there we go. I'm back. All right, we're going to edit that whole thing out. Or maybe we won't. So anyway, so it looks like obviously the two big ones there just in a main lineup would be Holiday and Westberg. I right now am about to give Jordan Westberg the Grayson Rodriguez treatment. And for those who don't know what the Grayson Rodriguez treatment is, that means I just pretend that they don't exist because they're hurt all the time. And that's about what I'm ready to do for Westberg. I hope not. I hope that's not the way we have to go, but that's how I feel like it's going to go. So Holiday and Westberg, probably the two biggest impact ones out. But I want to start with the pitching. So I'm going to run down the starting rotation as listed here, and then I'm going to run down the bullpen. And then, Chris, I'm going to start with you on your overall opinions on that group of guys. So, opening day starter, Trevor Rogers, followed by Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz. I confirmed that last week. It is Baz, not Baz. That was a question on last week's episode. Chris Bassett and Zach Eflin fills out the 5th spot. And then if you include this injury here, you've got Kittredge, Aiken, Cano, Wells, Rico Garcia, and Ryan Helsley. That is the pitching staff on opening day, sans Kittredge, most likely. So, Chris, naming those people, boom, hit me. What do you think?
Well, if anyone has had the pleasure of following me on social media, they would know that I was extremely vocal against the Trevor Rogers trade. I hated it, and I'm just blown away that the turnaround he's had and that he's their opening day starter. I do like the rotation. I think a lot of people went into the offseason with the mentality that success or failure would depend on a couple guys like Valdez or Suarez, but I think they did a great job just creating depth in this rotation, and they have Kramer as well. So I think they're in a much better position to deal with any injuries that come up. I love Helsley. I think Wells is going to be a good reliever, and if they can push Cano to the seventh inning, I think he'll be better. But the rest of that bullpen makes me nervous. I'm not sure. There's a lot of guys there that are going to have to show me much more than they showed me last year, but I'm optimistic about the group overall.
Yeah. What about you, Matt?
Very much the same. I feel the rotation has a chance to be really solid. If Rogers is even like half as good as he was last year, he's going to be really good. Bradish has shown if he's healthy, he's an upper rotation guy. Like Chris said, they've got more depth now than they had before. I think Wells is going to be great in the bullpen. I think Helsley will bounce back after he was terrible with the Mets last year. The rest of that bullpen is kind of a giant question mark. And so, they've got some pieces they could move at the deadline or later in the season to maybe get a couple other arms. And it feels like you can always find bullpen arms, but the bullpen is a bit of a concern starting the season for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think bullpen wise, I think an 8-9 of Wells and Helsley is as good of an 8-9 as you could have hoped for with Bautista out of the picture. Obviously, it's an improvement over throwing Keegan Aiken out there as a closer last year, which was just a disaster. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Who Birdman. Who was Birdman? Closer. Why can't I think of him? I've blocked him out of my memory. Chris, help us. Who was
Helsley?
No, the one that was jettisoned. Played for the Red Sox.
Stroud?
No.
To the Reds. Man, we're on fire here.
Yeah, played for the Red Sox, played for the Phillies.
Kimbrel?
Craig Kimbrel. Jesus.
I didn't know where we were going with that.
Yeah, no, just like, oh gracious.
A minute, got there.
At the at the closer situation,
you know what
sans Bautista.
About,
yeah, exactly. We get it. We know baseball. We talk about it every day.
We know ball.
That's right. Outside of Bautista, the closer position recently has been just awful. And I think just by losing Bautista, obviously that puts Cano in a different position than I think he should be. It puts obviously Aiken was there. Does that elevate a guy like Rico Garcia to a position where he doesn't need to be in right now, barring injuries? I think Wells Helsley, that's pretty good. 8-9. I'm not ready to call it, Andrew Miller, Zach Britton just yet, but I think there's potential there.
And if Kittredge comes back and Cano can get straightened out, the back end of the bullpen could be pretty good, but the rest of that bullpen, I just don't know.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic on Rico Garcia. We'll see. He had his moments last season, but yeah, we'll see. I would agree. I think maybe there's some work that can be done at the deadline and kind of shore that up a little bit. But then going back to rotation, I mean, I agree. I was one of those people who's like, you need a Suarez, you need a Valdez or whoever. But ultimately, when they landed Chris Bassett, sure, it's only a 1-year deal and he's on the wrong side of 30, all that jazz. But I mean, he's a solid pitcher, and he's him in the 4 spot. A few years ago, he's the 1 or the 2. But now they've got enough pitching here to say, nope, he's the 4. And I always said, I don't remember if it was on this podcast or just in our little group chat. I said, if we can get to a rotation that pops Dean Kramer out, whether he becomes a long man or where he ended up being now, which is in the minors, I think that means you had a somewhat successful offseason in getting the pitching in. I am pretty optimistic about Shane Baz. I'm a believer in Shane Baz.
I think that could be a really solid pickup.
Yeah, I think.
Well, the other thing about Bassett too is we just talked about how weak the bullpen is. So if you have a number 4 starter that can give you 7 or 8 innings, and he's a guy that eats a ton of innings, so that'll take hopefully a little bit of pressure off the bullpen at least.
Yeah, he's just a consistent guy. Like, he's not going to do anything super flashy, but he's going to go out there, like you said, give him 6-7 every time. Probably pitch to a mid-4 ERA and give you a chance to win every time. Can't ask for much more than that out of 4 starter.
Nope.
And speaking of pitch counts in general, like I feel like the last couple of years, starting pitchers have left a lot on the table with when they've been taken out of games, and I'd like to see them pushed a bit farther, especially with this bullpen.
Yeah,
going to be interesting to see what the new manager does with that.
Oh, that's something that we don't know much about is how does he handle it? Yep. That's a good point. I would imagine
hair I don't have.
Yeah, I would imagine early on, especially with Bradish coming off of that injury, I would imagine he's going to be somewhat limited. He might be in the Brandon Hyde 80 some pitches and you're done situation, but that one I kind of get. But I mean, if Trevor Rogers is rolling through 8, let him roll through 8. You know, unless he's up to 110 pitches or whatever, let him roll. You know, give the bullpen a break. So
agreed.
See, I put Brandon Hyde in your Grayson Rodriguez category. Who?
Oh, yeah, he's with the Rays now, and he did. And somebody asked him in a recent interview, you know, what was it like at the end of the Orioles tenure, and he just lamented the injuries and how, like, if he felt like he couldn't do anything right or whatever, and it seemed like he was really been out of shape about it. But sorry, too bad. You know, skill issue. You know, this guy who called runs points came in and finished the season 500. So obviously you were doing something wrong there, pal.
And then
let's ignore the fact that some pitching got better, but you know, right. All right. So yeah, I mean, I think we're in kind of a consensus that we're pretty optimistic about the pitching, all things considered. Obviously, like we said, you would have loved a front of the line starter signing, but you know, at this point, I'm considering Rogers and Bradish among one of the better 1-2s that I am currently aware of, at least in, you know, an Orioles type market team. So
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the lineup now. Obviously, Holiday going to be out for what sounds like at least a few weeks into April, maybe the entire month of April. Maybe it'll go further. Who knows? He broke his hamate bone, as did, who else broke it? Francisco Lindor? Yeah.
Francisco Lindor, and there was like someone else, like all on the same day. It was like
really.
It's bizarre.
I maintain that there was a fight club that they won't announce, but that's just one man's opinion. Westberg is out, obviously, so the assumption is this is what the lineup will look like on opening day. You're going to have, you start off with a question. You would assume Adley is the starting catcher. I would assume. Yep. Pete Alonso at first base. Blaze Alexander at second, perhaps. Maybe some Jeremiah Jackson action. Who knows? Third base, Kobe Mayo. Shortstop, obviously Gunnar. Left field, I hope, Taylor Ward. But you could see some Tyler O'Neill in there, possibly. Center field, you got Colton Cowser. Right field, you could see probably to start with Dylan Beavers having a little bit of an injury here. That could be a Taylor Ward or Tyler O'Neill situation. And then you would assume Sammy Basayo, DH, which leaves Ryan Mountcastle on the bench. Any notes on that? Anything you would change? Anybody you think deserves a shot other than those guys?
I hope Beavers does get the start because I think he has a chance to be really good because he seems like a guy who's just going to get on base.
Yeah.
And they need more of that in the lineup. They're going to score runs. Like, this should be a good lineup. But there are some, it seems like they have a bit of too many of the same parts with like O'Neill and Ward and Mountcastle. It's like you can't all play two positions. Like they can't all, and Basayo's going to have to DH and catch and maybe play first some when Alonso has a day off. Like, so where's Mountcastle going to play?
Yeah, I'm really shocked Mountie is still on the roster. He
I am
seems
too.
like a lighter version of Alonso. Like, there's really nothing he brings that Alonso doesn't. They both hit
Maybe,
right-handed, so like I don't even know where he fits.
yeah, it doesn't. I was really surprised they tendered him and didn't trade him. I mean, I
Yeah.
know he has like no trade value, but
Yeah,
after
but
last
it
season, but
makes me wonder if they just throughout the off season and the winter meetings in the spring, did they? Well, I guess not the spring because they tendered him, but throughout the off season, did they dangle him out there? Did they go to teams and say, "Hey, you're light at first base, and we're not light at first base. You're light at first base. So here's what do you think about Ryan Mountcastle?" And then they're going to look. I'm just going to make up a team. The Rockies say, "Well, we don't play the Blue Jays enough, so we don't need him." Or whatever the situation was. But I wonder if he just doesn't have the value. He's just
I
gotten
mean,
to a point where he didn't have any power last year.
he hasn't hit for power in a couple of years.
Yeah, he's good
He,
defensively, I
he's
think.
gotten better defensively at first for sure, and he hit 30 home runs like 3-4 years ago, and he hasn't come close to that since. And it's like, and he owns the Blue Jays, and he can hit lefties, but he doesn't seem to do much else right now.
Yeah.
That's my
And I'm
only
just,
thought if they can afford to keep him around is that it makes their lineup versus lefties really strong. So if you have guys like Crochet and Freed, they should be a lot better this year against lefties than they were last year.
yeah, because you'd have Alonso and Ward and Mountcastle, and potentially if O'Neill's actually healthy, all in there against lefties, that could be really good.
Yeah. That's assuming O'Neill doesn't swing over the ball.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He'll
I'm
hit his
pretty
home run on
sure
opening
O'Neill
day and get
got
hurt again.
pretty sure O'Neill got hurt during the making of this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but it seems like that makes sense. You're right. It's makes the left-handed lineup that much better. But is it going to get to a point where he becomes just dead weight because he's not hitting, and then he's not getting in the field because they're running a Pete Alonso, Samuel Basayo platoon between first and DH, and then you would assume if Beavers is healthy, Ward is healthy, O'Neill is healthy, Blaze Alexander is healthy. Well, I guess he's not really an outfielder, but Jeremiah Jackson has played in the outfield before. Leody Taveras, there's nowhere for him to go, basically. So if he doesn't do anything,
My best theory right now is that they're keeping him to cover injuries and they hope he has an incredible start and then trade him in late April. Because when Holiday comes back, there's no way they're getting rid of Blaze Alexander. I hope they wouldn't get rid of Jeremiah Jackson, so I would think Mountie's got to be at the top of the list to go when Holiday's ready.
Yeah, because again, and if Westbrook does ever come back this year, then what do you do with Mayo?
right?
And
Yeah,
that's,
exactly. Right.
and if he's actually hitting, which I'm still high on him and I think he will, but let's just say he is actually hitting, like, and then you get everybody back, where does he go?
Yeah,
Because there's literally nowhere for him to play.
let's take a quick look here. I don't know if you guys know it off the top of your head, but let's take a look at their springs. Because Kobe Mayo had a great
He had a good spring.
Yeah. I mean, if Mayo does well enough in the field at third, could even use him to give Westberg more days off when he comes back.
Ryan Mountcastle's spring. He actually had a decent spring too. Let's compare them. Ryan Mountcastle hit 302, 333, OPS 682, no home runs. I don't know about that. 45 plate appearances, no home runs. Sounds like a lot of 2025 stuff. And then Kobe Mayo had 42 plate appearances, 2 home runs, 378, 405, a 1.026 OPS. I mean,
I watched a couple spring games and they were talking about he was having a great spring and swinging the bat well. So,
yeah.
Again, it's a good problem to have, but like it's gonna be a problem at some point where they can't play all these guys.
If either of you were to take a guess, how old do you think Ryan Mountcastle is, unless you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would guess like 27, 28.
He's 29.
Yeah, I'd say 28, 29. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. After I told you the answer, of course, that's what you say he would be. Yeah. But, I mean, he's up there. He's not on the wrong side of 30, but he's getting there. So, who knows?
Just a guy that feels like he just doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while we're talking about like all this positional coverage, the one area I'm really concerned about is center field.
Yeah.
I don't seem to have anyone that can play a good center field that can hit. And Cowser is just so hot and cold. He didn't have the best spring, so I don't know. He's going to be out there a lot, probably versus lefties too. So they really need him to find a way to start hitting.
Yeah. What did I mean, you've got the guy in waiting. You've got Enrique Bradfield in waiting. I don't really see. Let's see. Spring. Never mind. Nope. He hit 083 with a 389 OBP.
Well, what about spring legend Vance Honeycutt?
Oh, does he play outfield?
Yeah. I think he's a center fielder.
There you go.
What I read was like his defense is like major league ready now.
Interesting.
The thing I like about Bradfield, though, I saw him a bit in the World Baseball Classic. He might be the fastest guy in the majors. And he also walks more than you'd think. Like he had 6 walks and 25 plate appearances in the spring. So even if you can put him in the 9 hole and he can just eke out some infield singles or draw a walk, I mean, that's
with this lineup
single,
too.
It's going to be a double for him, it seems like.
And with this lineup, you don't need him. You wouldn't need him to hit for power.
Yeah, and you could even eventually down the line, especially in the in September when the rosters expand, you can throw him in and give him the Quentin Berry treatment and throw him on the bench until they need him to run, or have him be defensive replacement at the end of games. You know, get Cowser out of there, whoever is out there, get him out of there, get him in there in the lineup. Maybe he'll get on base and score. You know,
I think he's the guy who could potentially get called up at some point this year because with his defense and speed, he brings something to the outfield they don't have.
Right.
Yeah, and if they don't have any center fielders that are hitting worth a lick, I'd rather have the guy that can run that fast.
Yeah, especially if he can get on base as good as he seemed to have in the spring. Yeah. So, no, I agree. There's a question. I'm looking at the depth chart still. You know, there's a third string catcher named Sam Huff. I don't know who that is, but he's the third string catcher.
I think he was with the Rangers last year. It sounds familiar.
Who is Weston Wilson?
I have never heard that name.
He is right now 5th on the depth chart at second base. Let's all find out together. Weston Wilson is from High Point, North Carolina. Oh, that's near me. That's Josh's alma mater. They won a tournament game this year. By the way, I'm for all those in the podcast, we are doing a bracket challenge right now, and I am whipping all these fools behinds. It's not even close. Matt picked Gonzaga to win,
That's
which
right.
is hilarious. And
Truly awful pick.
yeah.
I've still got my Final Four alive at least.
Me too.
Impressive.
Me too. Last episode, me and Josh did Final Four, and he has lost Kansas and Gonzaga, which is absolutely hysterical. I still
For all
can't.
you listeners too, you will not find a bigger Duke fan than Pat.
I did pick them in my money bracket, and I'm upset. But life goes on. Okay, now I've stalled enough to find out that Weston Wilson made his MLB debut for the Philadelphia Phillies on August 9th, 2023. There you go. And that's where he has been until now.
Interesting.
Never heard of him. Never heard of his name until just now.
Yep.
So there you go. Every day is a school
38
day.
at bats in a season. He did play for the Brewers from 17 to 22, but only had like 33 at bats over 5 years.
This
that
guy gets called up for like a day and gets sent back down.
Yeah. 1 for 3, 4 for 11, 3 for 9. Small sample size, but he hit over 300 3 straight years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
There we go.
He's the best hitter in the lineup. On that, what do we think is probably, again, sans Jackson Holiday and that other guy who we're going to forget about? I would have to assume, are we looking at a Colton Cowser leadoff hitter?
Ugh.
Or who
we
else
seem to
could
disagree on offline a bit about this, but I like Adley for his walks and his switch hitting, but Beavers when he's healthy, at least against righties, for all his walks too. I want someone that gets on base.
Yeah, I know the game has changed and you have power guys hitting the leadoff spot now, but I don't love Gunnar leading off. I'd rather him hit lower in the lineup. I'm in favor of Beavers, but I don't like the idea of Cowser leading off.
He's too streaky.
He is too streaky and swings at, pitches that break his hand.
Ugh, God, I will never get over that. So
none of us will.
I'm thinking, all right, so here's a question. You've got two great hitters in Gunnar and Pete Alonso. Who's 3? Who's 4?
I think Gunnar actually is a perfect 2-hitter with Alonso behind him. Then Gunnar maybe gets a few RBI opportunities with someone in front of him and hopefully better pitches to hit with Alonso behind him.
Then you think in that scenario, because I don't disagree with that. I like that. Are they going to, is that an Adley 4 situation? Is that a Taylor Ward?
Tyler O'Neill maybe if he's healthy?
Maybe O'Neill or Ward. Depending on what Basayo does at some point, maybe Basayo.
Yeah.
I like Adley as a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
That feels better for Adley.
His switch hitting can help later in games with relief pitchers.
If I were a betting man, though, which sometimes I am, and I'm not very good at it, I'm kind of thinking that assuming Dylan Beavers is ready for opening day. Let's just make that assumption. Beavers as a leadoff. I am going to think they're going to throw Adley in the 2 spot. And then Gunnar 3. Pete 4. And then just fill in the rest. Maybe, Basayo falls in after that. And then you just go down Taylor Ward, blah, 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 all the way down. Maybe Colton Cowser is the 9. That's what I think they're going to do. Beavers, Adley, Gunnar, Alonso.
I could see that.
Yeah.
then yeah, you could have Ward and then Mayo, Basayo at the bottom of the order. Cows are somewhere down there. Blaze Alexander probably ninth.
And then Holiday comes back. Well, go ahead first before.
I was just gonna say, I just want to see some consistent lineups for once. Like, have say your
nice.
righty lineup, and that be your lineup at least for the first couple months. Like, was it last year or so, or Adley hit it like 7 different spots in the lineup or something? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
maddening.
Not a fan of that guy. The other guy we won't speak of, but
yeah. And I know Brandon Hyde had his whole matchup thing, so that definitely affected that. And then Mansolino came in and said, Jackson Holiday is your leadoff hitter. And I said, hell yeah, Jackson Holiday is the leadoff hitter. And then he wasn't that great. So I wonder when he comes back, do they go back to that? Has he improved enough? He didn't have a spring, obviously. So is that your leadoff guy, or do you run with Beavers, or you do this whole righty? You have a righty lineup and you have a lefty lineup, where obviously you're not gonna platoon your big guns, but
you would hope.
Yeah. But again, we have no idea what the new manager will do. Who right now, again, name is escaping me. Why?
Craig Albernaz.
Craig Albernaz.
Yeah.
That's right. There you go. It's late. I'm
honestly
tired.
He is my biggest point of excitement from this offseason. I was not a fan of Brandon Hyde in the least, and just having someone new, even if we don't know about him, I think it's an improvement. So we'll see what happens. And he comes from a pretty good organization in Cleveland. So
yeah, I only heard good things about him out of Cleveland.
Yeah, he seemed to be. There were all the reports when they hired him was he was a top candidate, like everywhere. So he's got a good reputation. So I'm hopeful, but you never know.
Yeah, and I think we've said it a million times in our little group chat, but it seemed like Brandon Hyde was the perfect manager for a rebuild. And once it became clear that it was time to call up all of these young guns and that it was time to go for it, he should have been maybe not fired, but put in a different role, or fired. Doesn't matter. And then you bring in somebody else. I know Francona's name was thrown out there, those types of guys. But then they just rolled with it and said, no, this is our guy.
Well, then it's like, then they actually started winning, and it was like, well, we can't get rid of him now because we're winning. It's like, they're not winning really because of him.
They're winning despite him.
They just have a lot of talent, and they're winning. Like, he's not doing much.
Right.
And in fact, they could have won more if it wasn't for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, that manager of the year win, I think, was the worst thing that could happen to the Orioles.
100%.
It's hard to fire a guy after that, but it felt like the things we were complaining about in 2019 about his lineups and his use of the pitching staff were exactly the things we were still complaining about last year. Like, he never grew, he never adapted, and it was just maddening.
100%, because I remember, like, when the team was absolute garbage, it was like, I can't really judge what he's doing yet. And then when they started to sort of improve in 2021 and 2022, you're like, yeah, all these things he's doing I don't like. And then when they got good, he still, like you said, just kept doing them. And we had seen it for years, and like, this guy just isn't a good manager. He was good for the clubhouse, and like you said, good for the first start of the rebuild. But once they got to the point where they could actually win, he was not the guy to ride the ship.
For sure. And now I'm going to save us from continuing conversation about a guy that does not matter anymore. So let's finish off with, we've gone through the pitching, we've gone through the lineups, we've gone through the city connects. All of those things are equally important when it comes to how good of a team is. What do we really think this team is built to do? I'll start first. I said it a couple weeks ago. I was on a golf trip with a bunch of guys, and they were like, hey, listen to your podcast. What do you think about the Orioles, blah, blah, blah. And I said, my floor my floor for this team, assuming a healthy Holiday, and not just a catastrophic injury situation. My floor for wins is 87 wins. That is what in my heart of hearts I expect, minimum. Because I think the pitching, especially at the top, is really good. I think the back end of the bullpen is good. And then you've got the firepower. That I said to them, it is a lot of people don't understand or don't know yet the impact a bat like Pete Alonso has on this team, because that was one thing that happened in last year. Was obviously there was a lot of injuries and the pitching was horrible, but also the entire offense slumped at the same time in April and into May. But if the more you add bats like Pete Alonso, I mean, the chances of that happening again are slim to none. Even if you've got a slumping Gunner and a slumping Adley or whatever, Pete Alonso is going to hit a bunch of home runs and he's going to get on base a lot. So just the impact of that kind of guy is worth however many wins. What is that? What is that stat? What is that stat? Wins above replacement.
It's above something.
Yeah, wins above replacement. That's the guy. That's the guy. So that's my floor, is 87 wins. What do you think?
I think, yeah, 85 to like 90 wins is sort of my floor area. I feel like they definitely are going to be in contention for a wild card, and if some things go right and they maybe make a trade or two, they could win the division. Like, I know the Red Sox and Yankees are going to be tough, but like, it's there. Like, they could do it. But definitely, I think they're a playoff contender and should at the minimum be a wild card team.
What about Chris? What about you?
Yeah, I'm in a similar range, probably 84 to 90. I think the bullpen will be the biggest determining factor in that. I think Elias, people don't want to give him as much credit, but did a great job this offseason in creating depth, which was the major problem last year when people got hurt. We just had absolute garbage to come in and replace them. And, I know people are upset that they didn't sign an ace, but when you can still majorly improve, your 4 and 5 starters like they did, that goes a long way as well. And you look even now with Holiday and Westbrook, their opening day lineup is still going to look pretty impressive. So I think they've created a very deep complementary roster. And yeah, as long as the bullpen doesn't totally collapse, then they should definitely be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, playoffs. They have to be in contention for the playoff. I just can't see this team not at least being in contention. Which obviously in my range, an 87 win team is obviously in contention. Probably sneaks in to a wild card. So on that, like Matt, you said, they should compete for a wild card. Are we assuming Yankees at the top, or the Blue Jays were in the World Series? I mean,
It's true. The Blue Jays. I completely forgot about the Blue Jays.
yeah.
This division is insane. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't love the Yankees pitching staff. I know Cole's going to come back at some point, but they've got a bunch
Forgot about
of
him.
they got a bunch of question marks there too. And like, I don't know. They sent Dominguez and one of their pitchers down. Like, I don't know. I don't think they're quite as good as some people do. Maybe it's just my Yankees hatred. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
But
looking at their
yeah,
starting rotation. I mean, Max Fried was somebody that I wanted the Orioles to go after hard
yeah.
last offseason. No, I don't know what Garrett Cole looks like, but he's on here with a big O for out. Carlos Rodon has a big O for out. And then their 4 and 5 are Cam Schlittler
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan Weathers, which I'm sure, any a Yankee fan doing a podcast with 6 listeners would turn back and say, who is Shane Boz and Zach Eflin? You know, they're going to have the same conversation as I'm having right here. But you know, those guys, I don't know much about them. It's not like a scary.
I know the Red Sox rotation and the Blue Jays rotation looks really good. And like you said, the Blue Jays won the World Series last year, for crying out loud. So
And they almost won it. There's a miracle
almost
catch
did.
from winning it.
Yeah.
Which would have made Chris's life just amazing.
So much fun.
Yeah. What was
I
that
think
like?
the crazy. I'm just gonna say first that I think the crazy thing, Matt mentioned how strong this division is, but it seems for the last 5+ years, there's been 4 or so strong teams, and yet it seems 1 or 2 always majorly underperform.
Yeah.
We haven't seemed to get 4 teams just play really great baseball all the way through the year. It's like the Red Sox were bad for a couple years. The Orioles won the division 1 year, and I think the Yankees missed the playoffs. Like it's been such a roller coaster in that division.
And we didn't even mention the Rays, and the Rays are always they always find a way to compete.
Yep. So backing up a hair, what was it like being in a Blue Jays house when they were 1 out from the World Series?
Man, you're gonna make me say this in public, but I was actually rooting for the Jays. Just as a baseball fan, like I'm obviously an Orioles fan, but I love baseball as well, and I didn't want to see the Dodgers win another World Series, so I could have lived with my family if the Jays had won. I think it would have been a great story for baseball.
That's fair. I'll accept that. That's acceptable. Back to the Yankees. So obviously, if that rotation is healthy, at some point you assume Cole's going to come back. You assume Rodon's going to come back. I mean, the top 3. That's a good
rotation. If it's healthy.
That's a good rotation. This bullpen does nothing for me. I don't know who these people are. Brent Hedrick? You guys know who that guy is? Nope. Tim Hill?
I know that name.
Rich Hill's brother?
Maybe.
Fernando Cruz, Jake Bird, David Bednar.
David Bednar was
he was good in the
Pirates
WC.
closer for a while.
That's right. You know what? I knew that name rung a little bit of a bell. And then just their lineup. I mean, so it's in. You've got Austin Wells, Ben Rice, Jazz, Ryan McMahon. Who is Ryan McMahon?
He was the Rockies' third baseman before Bryant.
Oh my God.
He's really good defensively.
Yeah, okay.
But he hasn't hit the way people expected him to, but he is pretty good defensively.
Yep. Looks like Volpe's hurt, but but he's not a world beater like they assumed. Cody Bellinger signed a big deal. Stick around.
I mean, they're basically banking on Judge to carry the lineup again. And we've seen that the last 2 or 3 years. When Judge is hot, they do well. When Judge isn't hot, they're not good. So
they basically seem to be running the same team back pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, they were good last year, but I don't know. Again, it could be just my blinders for hating the Yankees, but I just don't see them being that good.
No, their lineup is not that impressive. Even their defense, I think they have some players who are overrated defensively.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you just walk Judge. You walk Judge and you'll figure it out.
That's what I would do.
Let him get on base. All right, let's do a quick.
Team should have done that last year, and they still pitched to him. I didn't get it. Like, he's the only one hitting, and people would still pitch to him, and he'd destroy them.
You know, I think it's just hubris. I think it's just hubris. Every pitcher says, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the guy that gets Judge out. I'm going to throw it low and away, and then you miss inside, and there it goes, 500 feet.
And the manager needs to say, you're not going to be the guy. Put him on first.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then just a quick look at the Sox. Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray, notably left-handed Sonny Gray. That's an inside joke. I will not explain any further. Ranger Suarez. They got Ranger Suarez as their third.
They did.
Yeah, I mean,
their rotation could be pretty good.
Brian Bello spells his name Brayyan. I don't like him. I don't like that. I don't like him. And then they've got obviously Chapman at the back end of their bullpen, who was an absolute freak of
Ageless
nature
wonder.
last year. Yep.
Got old Danny Coulombe there as well on his revenge tour.
Oh, and look at that. There he is. Yep. But then this lineup, I mean, the names here, Trevor Story's still there, but he was good for 2 weeks on the Rockies. Now he's fine. Nothing is really right home. Roman Anthony, Will Abreu. I'm not even going to try this name. Sedan,
Rafaela, I think.
Jaron Duran, Caleb Durbin, Marcelo Mayer, Wilson Contreras, Carlos. That lineup doesn't do much for me.
This is a lineup that's built on potential to me. Like, they have some really great prospects, but like Anthony should be good, but the rest really haven't done much yet. So
and they just
could go either
way. They don't. I mean, granted, the Orioles got him now with Pete Alonso, but they don't have that guy in the middle of the lineup that like terrifies you.
Right. They were hoping that's what Trevor Story was going to be. They were hoping that that's what
they should get a
Bregman
guy
would be
like
long
Devers,
term.
but
yeah, and then they bailed on Bregman, or Bregman bailed on them, whatever it is.
Who knows what they did there, because
they
pissed off their third baseman, and they traded him, and then the guy they signed to replace him, they didn't re-sign. I don't understand.
Yep. And then we're going to skip the Rays because we know it doesn't matter who's on that team. They're just going to
win.
They're
just going to win 80-some games.
That's right. So then Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays are scary, man.
They are scary.
Improved. I don't think they lost. They lost Bichette.
But Bo, yeah.
Yeah, but they got Gosman. They got Cease, Bieber.
Yeah, they got Cease. I forgot about that.
Yep. So, he can be up and down. Who knows? In this division. Well, he played the Dodgers last year, but
they still have Jeff Hoffman, so that's kind of the equalizer for everybody else.
Yep, that's right. The rest of that bullpen, I don't know much about. I'm not going to comment on it. And then looks like their lineup, like you said, Bichette is gone, but still got Springer, still got Vlad.
Barger was great last year. Clement had a decent year.
Yep.
And they
also get a full year of Savage in their rotation if he's at all as good as he was in the playoffs.
Didn't they get some third baseman from Japan?
Yeah,
Kazuma Okamoto.
That's it.
Yep. So, you would assume that they're going to be good. So, those got their work cut out for them.
I mean,
that's
it
for
will
sure.
Not be easy.
Yeah. So, that's why it was ever so important to get some pitching depth, get a guy like Pete Alonso, because that's the only way you're going to compete this year, it seems. So, all right. Well, I don't think we have anything else to talk about. I think we covered it. The baseball season starts on Thursday. It's still very much hockey season. And let's just do a quick check here. The Canes, they lost. Okay, so we're going to move on from hockey tonight. And that's it. So
every year at this time, it pains me that fantasy baseball is so bad. Just so many games, so much lineup setting. I wish I could enjoy it more than I do, but
I think I've gotten fantasy baseball used to be my favorite of all the fantasy sports because I love baseball more than any, and now it's like after the first week I don't even pay attention to my team anymore.
Yeah, every year I try to set my lineup for the week on like a Sunday, but inevitably my best pitchers pitch on the.
Well, now you just got to download a betting app and bet, first pitch strikes and hope that the pitchers aren't, part of a cheating ring. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all we got. And we're going to come in at just under an hour, just like I promised. So thank you both for coming on. This was fun. We'll do it again sometime. Maybe we'll see. We'll figure it out. So cool. All right.
And when the Orioles start off, 15-0.
Yeah, well, after the third inning on opening day when they're down 2-0 or something, we all start freaking out. Then all of this is going to change. So, yeah,
of course.
And if they start 0-15, we blame Nathan for not bothering to show up tonight.
Absolutely,
and support
yes,
the team.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yes,
it's all his fault.
Exactly. All right, cool. Thanks, guys, and see you next time.
Peace out, eh?
See ya.